Steve Rogers has battled all manner of threats both at home and abroad, both as a soldier and a superhero, and now Ta-Nehisi Coates is ready to take him into a whole new era. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into Captain America #1 and find out. Alright, so it's probably important to note that this story actually takes place after the events of the Free Comic Book Day issue, so if you need some catching up, check out right here, I got a link. We see the mysterious blonde Russian woman who was making nuke clones is getting transported by Russian Hydra loyalists. It would seem that while the secret empire was defeated by the American superheroes in other places in the world, Hydra resistance still exists in small pockets. However, as these green-clad mooks quickly find out, it is never a good idea to be an invading army in Russia during the winter time. Hitler found that out the hard way, Napoleon found that out the hard way, and these guys most definitely find it out the hard way as a mysterious woman comes to break the blonde scientist out. This person turns out to be Selene. Wow, that's a bit of a deep cut, an X-Men character, one of the former Black Queens of the Hellfire Club. I was not expecting that. Selene's been alive for so long she even hung out with Conan and Red Sonja back when Marvel had the rights to them. Now back in the United States, we check on in with Captain America. He's duking it out with the army of nuke clones who shot up a peaceful protest. Steve actually expresses a little bit of sadness for what's happened to old Frank Simpson. Sure, he was a supervillain and a maniac and a bad guy, but he always showed some small amount of respect to Cap. These clones, on the other hand, are violent, gibbering madmen who do nothing but shout patriotic slogans and even belittle Steve for failing to protect the good old US of A from the Hydra guy who wore his face. Ah yes, unlike the Mark Waid run that seemed to do everything in its powers to stick its head in the sand and pretend that the events of Secret Empire didn't happen, this story is running right directly into it and actually promises to settle some things. Now, ultimately, Captain America is able to defeat the nukes with the help of Sharon Carter as well as Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, who, as we discover, has actually been given a governmental pardon for helping fight against Hydra. In fact, as we discover, Bucky's not the only one. It seems that the government has undergone a major restructuring after the Secret Empire, and with no SHIELD around to help them out, they need to look to other people, including recently paroled former Red Hulk Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. Now, you'd think Ross would be a giant jerk, right, to our heroes, but quite the opposite. He has an undying respect for Captain America and even Agent 13. We discover Ross actually led a resistance group during the Secret Empire, and it kinda changed him. Now he feels to continue to battle the evil forces of Hydra, they need all hands on deck, and all true blue Americans need to work together, dagnabbit. Oh sure, he says all of that now, but how much you bet it's only a matter of time until someone or something gives him the ability to go after the Hulk again. Now that night, Sharon and Steve go out for dinner and we get a pretty emotional little scene. Sharon is still reeling from, being so close and so intimate with the now evil Steve. She's also looking a lot older, like she aged about 10 years in between runs, but then again, I guess it's 2018, so she would be getting older, wouldn't she? Steve's also greatly unsure about himself too. Will the American people ever be willing to accept him again? Can he combat these new dangerous threats that are happening all over the world right now? Can all these new supervillains who are getting passes in the name of fighting Hydra really be trusted, or are they just asking for another secret empire? Especially when even the likes of Von Strucker seem to be like wolves given the keys to the henhouse. Then, of course, there's the new threats that are rising across the Iron Curtain as Selena executes a bunch of Hydra agents in Moscow Square and more or less declares herself the new undisputed leader of Russia, and with that much power, can anyone stand against her? So there you have it, everyone. Captain America #1 from Ta-Nehisi Coates, and I gotta say, this book gets things off to a pretty strong start. If I had to judge the book's tone by one issue, and I mean, well, that is kind of why I made the video, isn't it? I think it finds a nice place in between the Spencer era and the Wade stuff. Mainly that it still is plenty topical and has lots of pulled from the headline stuff if you're willing to look for it, and if not, you can still just judge it as a regular old-fashioned superhero story. Selene is an interesting pull to be the foe for this newest arc. I had to wonder, do her and Cap have anything in common, and the only thing I really hit upon is that, well, they're both pretty old. In fact, the character of Steve Rogers in universe would have turned 100 years old today that this comic was released. Again, I applaud Coates and the rest of Marvel editorial for finally owning up to the events of Secret Empire, not trying to run away from it, not trying to pretend it didn't happen, but to actually use it as a building point for new interesting stories. Overall, I'd give this one a very positive 8 out of 10. I am interested to see what Coates brings to Captain America.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. If you did, why not check out some of these other videos I've been working on? Then you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you're always up to speed on what I got coming out next. And hey, if you really like what I do, you could check out my Patreon link down in the description. Patrons get exclusive access to videos and podcasts before anyone else, and you can do so for as little as $1 a month. That's only $12 a year, and I would really appreciate it. So, until we meet again, everyone, this has been Cape Joel. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back again with more comic content that smacks of greatness. Bye-bye.